The world's best golfer just told the tour, quietly, without a press release, without drama, that he will not play every week they want him to play. Not now, not in 2027, not ever. And the tour built an entire schedule restructure around players like him. It is not working the way they planned. This is not about one skipped tournament. The PGA Tour is eliminating the Hawaii swing for 2027, ending a 56-year tradition, and reportedly cutting 2 more events from the schedule on top of that. 3 schedule changes, all pointing in the same direction, all triggered by the same underlying reality. The tour cannot force its best player to show up, and they know it.
Honestly, I think Scheffler has more leverage over the PGA Tour schedule design right now than Jay Monahan does, and the Tour has spent 2 years restructuring everything around a player who has already told them where golf sits in his life. Do you think Scheffler should be playing more events, or does his family-first approach make the schedule problem entirely the Tour's problem to solve? Drop it in the comments now. And stay with me, because what Scheffler said on Golf Channel in December about the 2026 schedule is the quote that reframes every tour decision made in the last 18 months, and I'm not getting to it until later in this video. To understand the current tension between Scheffler's schedule philosophy and the PGA Tour's plans, you have to understand what the Tour was trying to build when it restructured its calendar.
2 years ago, Commissioner Jay Monahan announced the signature event model. The premise? Concentrate the best players in the same tournaments, reduce the total number of events that matter, and create a smaller set of high-quality weekly products that television networks and sponsors would pay more for. Fewer events, bigger purses, better fields. The model worked commercially. Purses at signature events exceed $20 million. Broadcast deals improved. Sponsors lined up. The tour delivered on the promise of a premium product. But the model had a silent assumption built into its foundation. The elite players who anchor those fields will show up. Every signature event, every elevated tournament. The entire premium product is only premium if the premium players are in it. Scheffler plays on his own terms, and his terms are not fully compatible with the tour's assumptions.
Here is the number that frames the problem. In 2026, the PGA Tour's 9-month compressed schedule runs January through September. Scheffler started at the Sony Open in January. He withdrew from the Houston Open in March because his wife Meredith was expecting their second child. He skipped the Valero Texas Open the following week, back-to-back withdrawals in the final stretch before the Masters. The world's top player withdrew from 2 consecutive tour events in the 4 weeks before the year's first major. No fine, no tour response, no statement from Monahan, and none of that explains what Scheffler actually said about the schedule when he had a microphone in front of him. That's coming up.
Here is the quote. Golf Channel, mid-December 2025. Scheffler was discussing his 2026 schedule planning and how he thinks about the compressed 9-month calendar. He said, "It's quick from January to September. There's definitely some weeks where I would love to be able to play, but I need to be able to be rested to be able to go back out and compete." That sentence is the most important thing any player has said about the PGA Tour schedule in the last 2 years, and nobody treated it that way. Read it from the Tour's perspective. They spent 3 years and hundreds of millions of dollars restructuring their entire schedule model to produce the best product in professional golf. And the best player in professional golf just told you on your own network that there are weeks where he would love to play, but he won't because he needs to rest.
He is not complaining, he is not criticizing the tour. He is simply describing his reality with total calm. And his reality has a limit on it that the tour's signature event model did not account for. Scheffler has also said publicly and directly in a documented 2025 interview what his priorities actually are. I would say my greatest priorities are my faith and my family. Those come first for me. Golf is third in that order. Golf is third. He told you, in public. The tour built a premium schedule model around a player who has publicly ranked his sport third in his own life hierarchy, behind faith and family. Those are not things that change with a higher purse or a better television deal, and the evidence is in the 2026 calendar. He withdrew from 2 consecutive events before the Masters because his wife was having their second child. The world's #1 player chose family over tournament appearances in the 4 weeks before the year's most important event.
That is not a player who will be pressured into showing up somewhere he has not decided to go.
Is Scheffler right to put family above his schedule? Or does the tour have a legitimate case that the world's best player owes it to the game to play more? Comment, family first is right, or he owes it to the game? Now here is what makes the 2027 question urgent, because the tour has made a specific documented decision about its 2027 schedule, and that decision tells you exactly how much Scheffler's preferences have already shaped the structure of professional golf going forward.
Here is what the PGA Tour promised players when it announced the signature event restructure. The promise? We are building a schedule that protects your time and prioritizes quality over quantity. You will not be expected to play every week. The events that matter will be worth your time. Elite players will have a clear calendar that maximizes competitive quality while protecting rest and longevity. What players gave up? The old model, where a strong player could build their season around 15 to 20 events of their choosing, with full schedule flexibility. Under the signature event model, the expectation, stated and unstated, is that elite players appear at every elevated event. The field value, the television product, and the sponsor relationships all depend on it. Put yourself in Scheffler's position when this model was announced. You are the world's #1 player. Your presence at an event is what makes it a premium product. The tour has a restructured around you, and then told you that your attendance at their new premium events is essentially required to make the commercial proposition work. You have a wife, you have one child, and a second on the way. You have said publicly that faith and family come before golf. How do you feel about a schedule format that needs you in the building every week to function? You withdraw from Houston. You withdraw from Valero Texas Open. You show up at the Masters because you want to be at Augusta National. That is an athlete operating on his own internal calendar, inside a tour structure that assumed he would operate on theirs. What players are now asking, and this tension is visible in how the tour is approaching 2027, is whether the signature event model was actually designed for how elite players live their lives, or whether it was designed around a theory of elite player behavior that the data is now contradicting.
Here is the question Jay Monahan has not answered publicly. If Scheffler's attendance at signature events is voluntary, and he has already demonstrated that he will skip events before the Masters for family reasons, what is the tour's plan when the world's #1 player decides a specific signature event does not fit his calendar? Now here is the part nobody has connected. The PGA Tour's confirmed 2027 decision to eliminate Hawaii, ending the Century Tournament of Champions and the Sony Open as season openers, is not a weather decision or a television decision. Those are the explanations and press releases. The drought conditions at Kapalua that forced the 2026 Century cancellation are real. But the deeper reason Hawaii is being cut has been documented in tour planning discussions. Elite players do not want to travel to Hawaii at the start of January, when they've just come off a holiday break.
Scheffler did not play the Century in 2025 because it was canceled due to drought. He played the Sony Open in January 2026 as the replacement opener. His quote afterward, "It's quick from January to September," was the first public signal that even the Sony start was a compromise, not a preference. The tour killed Hawaii for 2027. That is a direct schedule accommodation for what elite players, led by their preferences and stated priorities, actually want from a season opener. The tour adjusted the calendar around the players, rather than the other way around. And the player whose preferences carry the most weight in that conversation is the one who earns $27 million a year in prize money and whose face is on every broadcast. Scheffler did not lobby for the Hawaii elimination in public. He did not have to. The tour watches where he plays, they watch where he rests, and they build the schedule accordingly.
Jordan Spieth was asked about schedule demands on elite players in a 2025 media availability. His response was more direct than most players would be publicly. He said, "We have more control over our schedules than people think. Nobody's forcing anyone to play anywhere. We make choices." That is a fair point, technically. No player is contractually required to appear at every signature event. The tour's elite player agreements have minimum participation requirements, but they have always allowed for exceptions and discretion.
But read what Spieth's answer actually tells you about how the tour has communicated its needs to its players. He is defending player agency by pointing out that attendance is voluntary. He is not defending the tour's model. He is defending the player's right to not show up, which is the exact thing the tour's commercial proposition is built on players choosing not to exercise. The entire model runs on an implicit agreement that elite players will show up, and Scheffler has already shown twice in 2026 before April that his implicit agreement has specific exceptions built into it.
Is Spieth right that players have full control and should stop complaining? Or does the Tour's premium model create real pressure that the players can't actually exercise their way out of? Comment, players have full control or the model creates real pressure? The Tour cannot fine Scheffler for missing Houston. It cannot force him to Valero. But every week he does not appear in a signature event is a week that the premium product's core value proposition is slightly hollow. And if Scheffler has a second child, a faith community, and a stated priority order, golf third, then the Tour's ability to rely on his voluntary attendance in perpetuity is not as stable as their broadcast contracts assume. The 2027 PGA Tour schedule restructure is the clearest evidence of where this tension is heading. Hawaii is gone. 2 additional events are reportedly under review for elimination. The Tour is contracting, not expanding its elite schedule. Here is the counterintuitive number. The PGA Tour had 47 official events in 2015. In 2027, that number is projected to drop below 40 for the first time in the modern era. A tour that markets itself as a premium product is getting smaller every year. The direction of travel is fewer events, higher purses, and narrower field quality requirements, all pointing toward a model that absolutely requires the attendance of its top 5 players to function. That model's vulnerability is Scheffler's calendar. The closest historical comparison is the USGA's situation in the late 1990s when Tiger Woods began declining certain US Open sectional appearances and demanding specific exemption treatments. The USGA adjusted. They always adjusted. When the most dominant player in the game has preferences, governing bodies and tour structures find ways to accommodate them, because the alternative is a premium product without its anchor tenant. The Grand Slam chase makes 2026's Birkdale and beyond the most important tournament stretch of Scheffler's career so far. He needs only the US Open. He has the Masters, the PGA Championship, and the Open Championship in his trophy case. If he completes it at Birkdale or at a future US Open, the conversation about schedule control becomes permanent. A career Grand Slam champion at 30 years old, with faith and family above golf in his stated priorities, does not become more accommodating to tour schedule demands. He becomes less. Here is the pattern this situation is exposing about the PGA Tour's fundamental structural problem in the post-LIV era. The Tour spent 3 years restructuring around the premise that elite player participation is the product. Reduce field sizes, increase purses, create events worth showing up for. The premise is sound, but it assumes that elite player participation is reliable, that the players who make the product premium will consistently choose to be in the building. Scheffler has given the Tour the most dominant run of results in modern golf history. He is also, in the same period, withdrawn from events for family reasons, stated publicly that golf ranks 3rd in his priorities, and acknowledged that there are weeks he chooses rest over competition. Here is the question the Tour's commercial structure cannot answer cleanly. What happens to the signature event model in a year where Scheffler's second child schedule, his faith commitments, and his stated need for rest create a pattern where he plays 15 events instead of 22? Is the premium product still premium with 15 Scheffler appearances instead of 22? Do broadcast partners and sponsors accept that reduction without renegotiating their deals? The deeper indictment is this: the PGA Tour built a premium schedule model that requires voluntary attendance from a player who has publicly, repeatedly, and without apology explained that his sport is 3rd in his personal priority order. That is not a player you can schedule around with confidence. That is a player you hope shows up, and design the calendar to make showing up feel like his idea. The Hawaii elimination is that design. The event cuts are that design. The whole 2027 restructure is an accommodation dressed up as modernization. Is the Tour smart to keep redesigning around Scheffler's preferences? Or are they building a commercial structure that is too dependent on one player's voluntary participation? Comment, smart design or dangerous overdependence? Here is where this lands. Scottie Scheffler did not hold a press conference about his future schedule. He did not issue demands. He did not threaten to leave. He said on Golf Channel in December that there are weeks he would love to play, but he needs rest. He withdrew from 2 events before the Masters because his wife was having their second child. He has said publicly that faith and family come before golf. That is the bombshell, not a dramatic announcement, a quiet, consistent, documented set of priorities that the PGA Tour is spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to accommodate. The 2027 schedule will be different from 2026. Fewer events, no Hawaii, a leaner calendar that asks less of elite players.
Every one of those decisions is the tour learning, slowly and expensively, that the best player in the world plays where he wants, when he wants, and for the reasons he decides. The Open Championship at Birkdale is weeks away. He will be there because it matters to him, not because the tour requires it. Subscribe for full coverage when it happens, because the schedule story, the Grand Slam story, and the question of what Scheffler's career looks like after he completes the Slam are all converging in the same window right now.